Alright, so today we're going to be doing an Arch Anywhere install with manual partitioning, and we're going to be installing an xfce4 desktop. Alright, so to get started, you're going to head over to the Arch Anywhere website and go ahead and download the latest Arch Anywhere torrent. Current version is 2.1.3. By the time you're watching this video, there'll most likely be a later version. Okay, so after you get the ISO, you're going to want to go ahead and boot it up, and you're going to be at a screen that looks like this. Okay, so you're going to see Arch Anywhere installer. I got the 64-bit and the 32-bit version, boot existing OS. So we're going to go ahead and boot up the 64-bit version. So I'm going to pause the video right here, and we're going to be right back after this gets booted up. Alright, so once the system boots up, you're going to be at a screen that looks like this. It's going to say welcome to Arch Linux Anywhere, bringing you Arch Linux whenever and wherever you need it. There's a couple different things you can do from here. You can type help, see a help options page. You can type start, see the start page again. You can use the Wi-Fi menu command to connect to Wi-Fi if you need to. You can use the arch-wiki. You can do arch wiki and then search for whatever you want. So do arch wiki beginner's guide, and then I'll pull up the beginner's guide, and you can install Arch from the command line if you like, just by referring to this. And then hit Q to exit. And then you can start the automated installer with the arch-anywhere command. So you just type arch-anywhere and press enter. Okay, so now we're in the installer. So first you select your install language. So we're going to do English. Welcome to the installer. Would you like to begin? Yes. Okay, so it checks your connection. Then you're going to select your locale. So there's a whole bunch of others in the other list. We're going to go with the United States default locale. Okay, and then you're going to select your time zone. So you just scroll through here and find your time zone. Okay, then it's going to ask you for your key map. You can just go with default, or select whichever one you like. There's more in other. It's quite a long list. I'm going to go with default. Alright, so for this video we're going to be doing manual partitioning. We did auto partition in the last video. So we're going to do manual partition here. So you're going to scroll down to manual partition and press enter. Okay, and just like the last video, this is going to give you a list. So I have two drives right now. I have SDA and SDB. I got a 12 gig and a 10 gig. They're both completely brand new, wiped, fresh drives. So there's nothing's ever been done to them. So let's say I want to create a partition scheme on SDA. So I go ahead and I select the disk. Would you like to edit the partition scheme now? Drive, dev, SDA, edit partition scheme. Don't forget to write changes. So go ahead and click edit. So at this point we're actually editing the partition scheme. So I'd recommend, in most cases, unless you know what you're doing, just go with DOS for your label type. So select DOS. And then, as you can see here, we got 12 gigs of free space. Let's do new. So let's create a boot partition. Let's make a 100 megabyte boot partition. Okay, so 100 megabyte for boot. Okay, so let's make this one our root partition. Let's make this 8 gigs for our root partition. Okay, we got a 3 gig space here. Let's make this swap. Well, yeah, let's make this all swap. Oops. so 3 gigs. And then we'll scroll over here and we'll do type. And we'll set that to Linux swap 82. Press enter, because that's going to be our swap space. And this is going to be our boot. You can set it to bootable if you like. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference. Okay, then when everything looks like it's how you want it, we got our boot, our root, and our swap. You just come over here and do write, and then you have to type YES and press enter. So you do write, type yes, press enter. Then it says the partition table has been altered. Then once that's done, you just come over here to quit. And as you can see now, we got our disks in here, and then we also have all our partitions that we just created. And as you can see, they don't have their mount points yet. So we also have this 10 gig disk. So we want to go ahead and partition that one as well. So same thing, DOS label type. Okay, so we got 10 gigs of space. We want to make this our home partition. So we're just going to go ahead and make the whole 10 gigs one partition. And then we're going to go over to write, type yes, press enter, and then quit. So as we can see now, we got our SDA disk with its 3 partitions, and we got our SDB disk, which is 10 gigs with its 1 partition. Okay, so first we're going to want to select our root partition first. So that's going to be SDA2, the 8 gig partition. We made that for our root partition. So we're going to select that first. It's going to say create a new root mount point. Note root mount point must be created first. So you got to be sure to create your root mount point first. So we'll go ahead and create that. It's going to ask you to select your file system type, default, ext4. Then you're going to confirm. So we're going to do write changes. It's going to create that root mount point. So as we can see, it's now mounted at our root. So next we want to do our boot, so this is going to be our boot. Would you like to create a new mount point on dev SDA1 100 megabytes? So go ahead and edit. And then as you can see, we got a list here to choose from, so we're going to go ahead and do this one as our boot, ext4, and write changes. So as we can see, that's now at boot, so we got root and boot. Okay, so we wanted to make this our 3 gig swap, so it's a pretty big swap space, but it doesn't really matter, so we'll go ahead and edit, and then we're going to scroll down here to swap, confirm 3.9 gig swap, rate changes, there we go, we got our swap enabled, and then we wanted to make this our home, so we'll go to that, edit, actually, well, we could make a custom mount point. You can pretty much specify whatever mount point you want in there, but for this video we're not going to mess with that, we're just going to leave it with home. And write changes. So there we go. We got our 8 gig root, our 100 megabyte boot, and our 3 gig swap all on one disk. And then we have a separate disk with our home of 10 gigs. So if everything looks good and you're all done, and you could have as many disks as you want in here and they'll all show up. You could have separate operating systems on different disks that you don't even touch. It just depends on how your setup is. It'll show everything you have. This is just a virtual box system, so I just have a 12 gig and a 10 gig virtual drive hooked up. But once you're done partitioning, if everything looks good, you just go ahead down here to write changes and press enter. Then it's going to ask you to confirm. It's going to show you what it's going to write. And if everything looks good, you just scroll over here to write changes and press enter. And it's done just like that. And then it's going to ask us to update your mirror list, so I'd recommend going ahead and doing that. This goes out and it grabs the latest mirror list from the official Arch Linux website, and it ranks the mirrors to find out which ones respond quickest, and it puts them up at the top of the list. That way you're going to have the fastest download. Alright, once that's done, you're going to select your installed type. So there's a few different types in here. There's base and base devel. So there's base and base development. I recommend base development. You're pretty much going to end up needing all the packages in base development anyway. So I recommend just starting off with base devel. And there's also long Linux LTS. So if you need Linux long-term support, you can choose either one of those options. We're just going to go with the standard Arch Linux base devel. Install Grub bootloader, yes. Install wireless tools, no, we don't need that. Install OS prober. So if you were dual booting, if for example one of those systems, one of those disks back there in the partitioning menu had an operating system already installed on it, you could select yes here and Grub would detect that operating system and add it to the boot menu. So we're not really doing that, so we're just going to go with no here. It's going to update your pac-man database, and it grabs the size of the packages you're going to install. And it's estimating how long it's going to take to install. Alright, then it's going to give you the size, the estimated install time, the estimated speed, and the packages. And go ahead and install. I'm working on these loading bars. I'm trying to get something set up to where it actually displays what is taking place in the install, like above the loading bar. Like instead of saying this may take a while, it'll say what it's actually doing. If anybody knows anything about whiptail gauge loading bars, let me know, because I could definitely use some insight on how to get that done. It's panning out to be pretty tricky. It was pretty tricky to begin with to get the loading bar to even work. But it would be nice to have a more in-depth loading bar that shows the user what's going on. It takes the output from the packstrap command and actually displays it in here. So installing Grub to drive, configuring Grub, generating locale, setting the time zone, 64-bit architecture detected. Would you like to add the multi-lib repos? I'd recommend doing that. Enable DHCP, recommend doing that as well. And then you're going to set your system host name. I'm just going to leave my default Arch Anywhere. Okay, then you're going to set a root password. I recommend setting a pretty strong password there. Create a new user account. Okay, enable sudo privilege. So that's administrative privilege for Deadhead, yes. Would you like to install a desktop or window manager? Yes. So we're going to go ahead and get xfce. which xfce is the official default desktop for Arch Anywhere, as we'll show in a few minutes. Would you like to install Input Synaptics? No, we're not using a laptop touchpad. Light DM, Graphical Login Manager. Yeah, we can go ahead and get that. Okay, and then it's going to ask you to confirm installing the desktop. It's going to show you all the packages, show you the total size, estimated time, etc. Go ahead and install. Alright, so once that's all through, it's going to ask you if you want to install some additional software. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we got a list here of software to choose from. These are all categories that you can go into and select software from. So we're going to start from the top here. Audio. Let's get piano bar, and that's all I really want from there. Okay, we got a few different games that are in the official repos. I haven't really played any of these except for Super Tux and Super Tux Kart, but I thought it would be pretty cool just to include some games. If anybody knows of any games that they'd like to see added at some point, let me know. Okay, we got graphics software, so that we got GIMP and Blender and a couple other programs in here. Internet. So we got a couple different web browsers. I'm going to grab Firefox and links. We got Network Manager. We got torrent clients. So once you select software, you just hit OK, and it's going to confirm to add it to the menu. And then you're just taken back here and you just scroll down, then when you're done you hit done. So we got some multimedia software, a couple different options in here. Simple Screen Recorder is actually the program I'm using to record this. We got a couple different options of Office software, and to select and unselect software you just hit spacebar. And then you hit enter whenever you're finished. And if you don't have anything selected when you hit enter, it'll ask you if you want to go back and select something. Okay. Got quite a few different terminal emulators in here. And we got some text editors. I'm going to grab Vim because it's superior. Got some different shells to choose from here. I'm going to also grab ZSH because it's also superior. And we got some system utilities in here. If I could install VirtualBox in VirtualBox. Alright, so once you're finished selecting software, you just hit done. I'm just going to put all the software you selected together in a list. It's going to add everything together and prompt you to install, and you just hit install. It's going to go ahead and grab all the software. And when that's all done, you're going to be at the reboot menu here. So at this point, you can go back and add another user if you'd like. You can install another desktop if you'd like. You can install as many desktops as you want from the menu. And you can add more software if you'd like. You can also arch-ch-root into installed system. And this basically gives you a command prompt where you're in control of your new system that you just installed. So this is the newly installed system right here. So this, you can run any command from in here. You can install packages, you can run pac-man. Just like that. As you can see, we got 1, 2 disks. We got our partition scheme that we set up, all ready to go. You can type help to show this help screen at any time. And you can type exit or arch anywhere to exit. Back to this screen here. Then you can just return to command prompt. Okay, so once the install is finished, you can just go ahead and power off your system, reboot. Okay, so we're back at the ISO screen here. So we're going to go ahead and boot existing OS. So here we are at our new OS that we just installed. xfce. Alright, so here we are at my new user that I just created. And this is the default out of the box xfce. Made a few changes for the Arch Anywhere version. I think it looks quite a bit better than the default xfce. Window manager, terminal and all. So this is the official Arch Anywhere xfce. This is how it comes out of the box now when you select xfce as your desktop. Pretty decent looking, I think. I mean, it can be customized per user, but out of the box it looks a lot better than default xfce looks. That's for sure. Alright, that is pretty much it for the manual partitioning with xfce video. Hope you guys enjoyed watching, and check out this release and you'll see if you install xfce, it'll come out of the box looking just like this, which isn't bad at all for xfce. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll be releasing another video with the next release. I'll probably be doing encrypted partitioning in the next video, and I'll have a few other pre-configured desktops added as well. So hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time.